From the OU TV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics. Proudly combating the thought police since 2016, here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. Yesterday, about 23 members of the House of Representatives decided to take obstructing justice to the next level and physically enter a secure room to interrupt damning testimony of President Trump in the impeachment hearing. Republicans' defense of the president is growing more frantic, more disjointed, and more desperate than ever as every day more revelations come out to reveal the disturbing writing on the wall. As the abuse of power scandal grows, more and more of abusing power seems to be the only lever to pull in Trump's defense. While it's clear that 23 members of the House will break rules and form a mob on Congress for the president, what's unclear is, do Americans feel the same way? The more we learn about Trump, the more indefensible it becomes. Do Americans really want to rally in the streets to defend a criminal president? His lawyers literally argued in court yesterday that if he shot someone on Fifth Avenue, cops couldn't stop him. That's all they have. They say that the president can commit crimes as long as he is president, and that they are somehow trying to move further and further, making us think that this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. The argument is that the president cannot be tried in court because he has to be investigated and tried in an impeachment proceeding. Well, now we have an impeachment proceeding, and that should not be allowed to go on as well. Just let Trump be a law-breaking president with no guardrails. Sure, that's totally what's in the Constitution. Not. What a mess. Now, Rome fell, people. Democracy is delicate. How far are Americans willing to go to defend Trump? I mean, I'm sure people will show up at the ballot box and vote for him. I'm not naive, and they might even say that they're going to vote for him, but how many people are really going to march in the streets and riot when he gets thrown out of office? Maybe one guy with bear repellent on Santa Monica Pier. But other than some noise on Twitter, I think the American people are tired of this nonsense. Let the process play out, and I bet you that at the end of all of this, these guys are going to end up in jail. That is, if there is any justice at all. It's election time for Brexit. Remember those folks across the pond? They voted for Brexit, right? And then everything that came afterwards was some sort of crazy hangover of democracy. What did we just vote for? Gee, America can never understand what that feels like. Just kidding, we voted Trump into office. We know how it feels. Well, with his Brexit deal paused, and not a thing by Halloween as he had hoped and prayed for, Prime Minister Boris Johnson today said that he would ask the fractious, divided Parliament to agree to a December 12th general election. But what will he do if the opposition Labour Party refuses to vote for an election? Well, Johnson says, "We would campaign day after day for the people of this country to be released from the subjugation of a parliament that has outlived its usefulness." He would need a 2/3 support vote in the House of Commons for an election to be set. His last bid for an election was rejected. Opposition parties say that they want an election, but not until the possibility of Britain leaving the EU at the end of the month is definitively ruled out. When Theresa May, who was then Prime Minister, called for a snap election in 2017, she ended up losing her parliamentary majority and being booted out of office. It's beginning to look a lot like fire season everywhere we go. It's fire time again in California. Yes, fire season after all. For Los Angelinos, it started the other week with a big fire in San Bernardino, and then earlier this week there was a smaller fire in the Pacific Palisades. Well, overnight, there was another doozy that broke out in Sonoma County, 75 miles north of San Francisco. As of this morning, the Kincade Fire had spread to 10,000 acres. That's just over 15 square miles with no containment. Zero. The fire started near where Pacific Gas and Electric, the state's largest utility, cut power Wednesday afternoon amid dangerous weather conditions. Power outages are just a new fun thing that Californians have to do when they're in the path of a fire to have to deal with, since, utility companies can't get their gear together to stop it from burning down entire towns like that of Paradise, California last year. Mandatory evacuations are in effect and several major roads are closed. It may be difficult to get any containment on the fire over the weekend due to winds and weather conditions. Happy fire season!